Recording live from the E. Haley Memorial Studios, straight out of Elmont, Ontario, it's time for This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes, your one and only weekly Warmahordes news broadcast. It's 8 p.m. Wednesday night, the beers are cold, the news is fresh, and the death clock starts now. Good evening, everybody, for the second time!
And we'll just keep doing this
We'll just keep doing it all night long until we get it right. So
that's what she said.
It's been an interesting evening so far. We have a giant snowstorm that's come through the Ottawa area over the last 2 nights. So the fact that we're even able to podcast at this particular juncture is a pretty amazing damn thing.
Yep.
Secondly, you will notice a slight change in the lineup this evening.
Yeah.
There's no weird little dude in the corner.
Who never talks,
Who never
apparently.
talks.
Yeah.
Instead, he's sitting here between us. It was nigh impossible to convince anybody to Skype in on the stream, and probably for the best. Because
They're shoveling their driveways.
Yeah. Probably for the best because we probably wouldn't have been able to actually get a Skype feed in.
It's true.
So let's start. I am Myth Gorax, and I am the unfortunate host of this crap. Over to my far left is no other than PG Semi-Automagic. Introduce yourself, PG.
Hello, I am PG Semi-Automagic.
And in the center, tonight,
It's Maelstrom.
we've forced Maelstrom to actually sit on camera.
It's disturbing.
Look,
it's weird. I'm
See,
freaking
he's
out.
almost the same size as the rest of us.
Yeah.
Well, when I say
Yeah.
the rest of us,
We
as
actually-
you people.
We lowered his chair like 4 inches so that he would be the same height as everybody else.
Yeah. And my legs are like locked together into this weird, uncomfortable
Slightly
situation.
cuddly position.
Yeah, it's like uncomfortable.
We're doing an amazing job podcasting tonight through the audio. The audio people are like, I have no idea what he's talking about. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a few topics to go through tonight. What we're going to focus on for those people that are catching the stream after the fact, or the people that are watching the stream live, we're going to focus on tonight is we're going to talk about charges for a bit. Mm-hmm. And I want to have a bit of a roundtable discussion about sort of state of game, if that makes sense. There's a lot of... Since the errata, it's been about 4 weeks, and one of the things that was said during the errata process was that the reason why erratas happen is to keep the game fresh and to get rid of... How do we put it? Bad states of game or no fun states of game, if that makes sense. So we're going to talk about that and really acknowledge what a bad state of game is. And just because you had a bad night at the gaming table doesn't mean the entire game is crap.
Yeah.
But let's get started with a little bit of news.
Oh, geez.
There's so much stuff.
So much news.
What is going on right now? Because we had like a lull for like a week, Semi, and then all of a sudden, boom, all over the damn place. What is coming up that is making this happen?
Well, the first thing that happened was that we got the Privateer Press Primecast that had all of the wonderfulness in it, and we talked about that last week. And that sort of signaled the beginning of year for Privateer Press. So as of then, we were going to start getting all the new stuff. So we're going to start seeing spoilers for casters. We're going to start seeing more of the resculpts. We're going to start seeing more painted models. We're going to start seeing more stuff like the new leagues and stuff like that all coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then... I think the biggest thing, really, to focus on that this week, was we got to see some of the painted resculpts this week, which was really cool. We actually got to see Denny. We knew what she was going to look like with the weird tube boobs that are siphoning some sort of liquid off of her nipples.
Don't ask.
Don't ask.
Don't
I don't
tell.
even want to know what they're siphoning off of that bad boy. But... yeah, there's that going down right now. There's just a ton of different resculpts. I'm going to pull it up on my iPad, but you've got... some of them, if you want to go through some of the resculpts that are happening right now.
Well, you mean the painted ones that we're seeing? Well, we saw the painted Denny. Mm-hmm. We've seen the new boars, the battle boar and the splatter boar. We've seen the metal Syntherian come out of the specialty setup. I think that's all the colors that came out.
That's weird, though. You said that metal Syntherian, so there was a plastic one that you could get before.
Well, the only way to get Syntherian before was to buy him as part of the battle box. He was not released as a separate caster.
Right.
What they did do is they did release a Privateer Press exclusive metal version. And from what I could tell, it was basically they made it an exclusive because they hadn't ramped up production. They weren't sure whether it was going to be worth it to produce another model And so what it turned out is that it obviously was liked well enough, or they got far enough ahead on production that they felt they could offer it. And so now you can get, just like a lot of the other Privateer Press exclusives, like the gigantic Kador Jack and the really weird Warp Wolf and all those things, you can now get the Metal Syntherian as its own
Right.
At store, you know.
Yeah, which, I mean, let's be honest, it kind of sucked. The exclusives were a great thing for some people. But for guys like us who live in Canada, or some of the guys in Europe for that, I mean, there's a lot of players in Europe now, it kind of blew, because you had to order it from Privateer Press, pay the extra shipping charges and everything else, and it just was not super, super fun to do that. So for them to offer it regularly, stores can just pick it up so that you can get it at your local store. And they've done that with most of the exclusives now. They've gotten rid of, other than the con exclusives, they've gotten rid of the some of the stuff that was still...
Yeah, the ones that we're still seeing as really exclusives are things like the Kilt Lifter, the various beer models. Those ones are still going to be exclusive to the online store, but I think all the extreme ones are going to show up now.
Yeah, for sure. So next thing up is Widower's Wood went into Kickstarter. So it actually started their Kickstarter this week. This is a big deal for Privateer Press because they don't normally do Kickstarter. Maelstrom, you know a bit about Kickstarter and about that world of selling online. Why do Kickstarter if you're already a company that's successful?
It's a great way to get your project funded quickly.
Yeah.
Also, it gives great incentives for the fans. It's a great way to connect with fans, really, and it's a pretty much low risk way to make sure it's a product that people are going to want.
I think it also gets your advertising out there. A guy who wouldn't have bought the game, even though you're a Privateer Press person, because you're not that interested in a board game. Suddenly, there's all these freebies, and suddenly you might buy it, and then you might give it a chance, and then it might be a bit more successful.
Yeah, I have that problem because the first exclusive was a Victor Pendrake, and my favorite model in the lore. So, you know, you
will own a Widower's Wood?
It's real tempting.
Well, there's that, and there may be another couple of Kickstarters that went out this week that are not Privateer Press, that but people who were involved in Privateer Press may or may not be involved in.
Yeah.
There might be a lot of Kickstarter money coming out of our pockets this month. So Syntherian, we already talked about that. One of the coolest things that happened this week for me that was super exciting, and for a lot of the people that are in our local meta, is Privateer Press released trenches.
Yes, this is their first terrain since the Gale Force 9 pieces.
Yep.
Way back in the annals of time past, for all of us who started later on in Mark II, they had a contract with Gale Force 9, and Gale Force 9 did all their tokens and spray templates and all that kind of stuff. So occasionally you'll see people with these little spiky tokens. Those are all the old Gale Force 9 tokens. Along with that, they had a piece of terrain per faction that existed at the time that was put out. And they're all really cool. There's like a giant lightning generator for Signar and a giant like cannon for Kador. And there were all these terrain pieces. But they were very expensive. I think they were kind of retail $100 approximately.
Which for a piece of terrain was a hard thing to do. So that's why you still see them come up in stores today.
Occasionally you'll find one in the back of a store because they're so hideously expensive. And they, by today's standards, were not particularly good. Like at the time, they were as good as anything else on the market. But now, with the advent of better plastics and the advent of 3D printing and 3D modeling, you could do a way better model than that. But one of the things that they have entered back into is this terrain. Right now, it looks like they're doing it in-house. We haven't seen anything that would lead us to believe that they are not. And the painted up ones look really good. Those trenches are just beautiful.
And I think what's exciting for all of us is that we want terrain that is the right size. We've all been buying terrain from aftermarket producers, flat terrain in particular.
Yeah.
But what was the coolest thing about this is it's 3D terrain. it's trenches, so it's
Yeah.
not super 3D. I mean, it's it's
Yeah,
relatively,
but it is actually 3D terrain as opposed to being
Right.
a piece of
Which-
neoprene with a picture on it.
which gives us hope that there'll be 3D walls next,
Yes.
and a couple other things. And I think that gave us all a little warm.
I would be happy to see everything that was a template in the back of the book come out.
Come out as a
Because those are all things that are gameplay based. So there are theme forces and factions that can put out walls. There are theme forces and factions that can put out trenches. They've already released rec markers. So you can go out and buy a standard rec marker to go with your faction. You can buy the wall for your faction, the trench for your faction. And you know that these will always be legal in play because they are the ones that came out of the PP box.
Minty from the stream just mentioned that when he saw the Gale Force 9 stuff come out, it was about $80, which is still super high priced by today's standards for something that you may or may not use. So that's actually really super exciting, but I think what's most exciting for all of us is that it hints at things to come.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we hope that this is a trend. So I'm going to say we all need to go out and buy the trenches so that it's a super successful product so that they'll make more.
Hopefully they keep the price at a reasonable level.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing.
That's going to be
I'll
the make
really
or break, I
interested
think.
to see how it shows up. Is it going to be a hard plastic kit?
Yeah.
Is it going to be a resin kit? Is it going to
It's not going to be made out of white metal. So we can
No.
just all cover it.
It's not going to be made out of white metal, but it could be not expanded polystyrene, but vacuum formed.
Yeah. Okay. So the next thing up that is super exciting, we may have mentioned this a little bit last week. I can't remember. Is that the Kraken Sepulcher were both announced at the same time, and
Yes.
they're part of a kit.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, I'm sorry, people, if you are stuck under a rock, is actually super exciting.
And it is actually a direct backpedal on what was previously said.
But
It was actually said in the past that the two would be separate kits. And I think at the time they were thinking that they were just going to continue doing the Gargantuans and Colossals as the same resin kits they've been doing.
Yep.
But once they started moving into hard plastic, I think that's what opened it up.
well, here's the other side of this. I think no big thing against Privateer Press, but I was a little upset that all of the new Colossals, not the Gargantuans aside, but the new Colossals, all kind of looked the same.
Yeah.
They were all like, oh, we took the Stormwall and we stuck a great big different gun on it, or
well,
whatever.
that kind of makes sense.
It
because
makes
if
sense.
you look at all the other jacks, they're like that.
Absolutely, it makes complete sense. But when you looked at when the when the new Gargantuans were all announced, it was like, oh, this faction gets a giant eagle, and this faction gets a crazy looking new stompy beast. It's like, well, how come I just get another Stormwall with a different gun stuck on it? But
At least you're on a troll player.
Yeah.
Now it's slightly sharper.
yeah, it's got some snow. It's got less detail because it's got snow on it. Although it's a badass figure. But the point I'm trying to make is I was a little upset about that because it's like it's not a new cool. I'm in this for the models half the time, and it's not a really new cool model. It's just my old model with a gun stuck on it. So it makes me super happy because it means now I can magnetize. Yep. Now if I find out that my Colossal's not that good or this new Colossal super good, I can go rip the two guns off, stick the other gun on, and be like, yes! Now I have badass model number 2.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad for the Hordes guys who have to go out and spend the extra $130 to get their other one to test it out and find out.
The upside of the resin, though, is it tends to come out a lot quicker because it can be produced in-house.
Yeah.
All the hard plastics are produced overseas.
Right.
So we get them whenever the vagaries of wind and water and tiny Chinese people all come together, right? It's with the resin, it's made in-house, and you know that it will actually come out in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah. So that's good. Unfortunately, we may have to wait a little bit longer to see when they finally hit.
Yeah.
But Minty has made a point. Minty on the stream has made a really great point that it's a good idea to proxy before you buy. Test it out for yourself.
Absolutely.
But hey, magnets
Some people actually get the rules and stuff ahead of time for their models, so then you actually can try them out because
Really
it's in the
work
book.
it. Well,
Yeah.
and we did that with a bunch of our models last year. We proxied a bunch of stuff before it hit. Mainly, I practiced my new caster for Cephalix for like 3 months before it hit, which was pretty awesome because you also means you're badass when it finally
when it
does
comes
hit.
out, you can drop it right away.
Last but not least, there was a few more Company of Iron leaks this week. They announced the Mercs, I believe. The
Oh, yes.
Which sounds so amazeballs. I mean, it seems so overpowered and so super awesome. I think we talked a bit about it.
We did talk about it last week, but yeah, I am really enjoying the fluffiness of Company of Iron, and all of the companies look so awesome. The All Froggies company,
Oh man,
the
So
Gun
much fun.
Mages, the Convergence one is awesome.
we were
too.
talking about it at Speed Machine the other night. We had a bit of a Speed Machine tournament at our local pub. And one of the cool things that we were thinking about was, wouldn't it be cool to play Speed Machine, but with the Company
with
of
the
Iron?
companies, yeah.
So that you take the Warcaster out of the equation. And what Ben was saying, who's one of our local painters, guys from Kingston that came out, so he was saying his biggest problem is activating units, not learning how to be faster with your battle group, but being faster with your units.
Yeah.
This would be awesome as a Speed Machine style event.
Yeah.
You get so many Company of Iron points because you get through like 5 games in an hour.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just some thoughts. Let's move right along, guys, because we've kind of covered all the news for this week. There's a lot of good stuff to check out. Keep your eye on the PP website. Keep your eye on our website. We'll make sure that you're up to date. So, do you want to... this is ripped from the forums, because we don't have a fancy thing to do.
We're working on that.
I'll add that in the... When I do post-production on this, I'll try to add in the ripped from the forums.
Of course. Make sure you
There's
send
some
that.
sound effects
Yes.
and all that kind of stuff. So ripped from the forums, we haven't done it for a while, which is why I don't have a new animation. But what I do is I go onto the forums and I find a hot topic that's kind of cycling around, and we're going to kind of do a little bit of a roundtable discussion on it. The biggest thing that's on the forums right now, and there's 2 threads that are major. One is a person coming on and complaining that he's having a toxic game experience. And then there's a major thread basically saying, like, this has become ridiculous.
Yeah.
Every time somebody's having a bad game, they're now coming on the forums saying, I've had a toxic game experience, PP, please fix. Why is this suddenly happening on the forums? We discussed it a bit at the beginning of the show, but I'm going to send this over to you, George. Why all of a sudden has toxic gaming experience becoming the keyword to a topic?
Well, there's 2 things that have happened that have made this show up. First of all, that was the way that Haley was, or Haley 2, was explained to people for a while. There was a whole series of time when everybody called that a negative play experience or a toxic play experience, specifically with Epic Haley. And I know we've all felt the brunt of that particular caster. After that happened, and then Haley got errated, it seemed to get stuck in people's head that if we use these words, we can maybe summon the PP gods, and they will change things.
They will
for
change
us.
whatever it is that is toxic in my gaming experience.
Yeah.
So we can make the point quite simply. This is nothing new.
No,
The forums,
it's just new words for old bitching.
back when I was, first being part of BBSs back on the internet back in the day, one of the problems with forums is 90% of the people that go on a forum are going there to complain.
Yup, that's what they do.
You need to keep this in mind when you go to a forum for information. Yes. It's one of those things that most internet savvy people understand, but every once in a while you get that person that goes, oh, this game must suck, because 90% of the things on the forum say it sucks. Well... The problem is that that's what people go to forums to do.
Yeah.
They go to the forums to complain, generally.
You don't see a bunch of people going, wow, I'm really happy with this model. It's the bestest model ever. The only time you ever go to the forum is it's broken, and does anybody know if it's about to disappear on me, or it's broken, I can't believe PP lets this happen. Bah!
Yeah. Like right now, everybody's just waiting for the errata to hit for frogs.
Which I don't know why they think it's going to happen before June. Because
it's not going to happen
PP
before
has started a thing where every 6 months they get an errata.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Stop trying to make Croaks happen. It's not going to
And
happen.
Croaks, really, they are broken, but they're really, I mean, they're not super broken.
No,
Yeah.
Croaks are strong.
Strong,
They're not broken.
and they're super strong against the current armor skew.
Yes.
They really, really, really suck against defense skew. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are having problems with Croaks, go run a bunch of defense 14, 15 guys into them, and all of it. Gun mages love them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, whatever. Try to hit me, bitch.
Yeah, you can't hit me.
You can't boost. You can't do shit.
Yeah.
Unboostable guns have that problem.
Mm-hmm. And remember that the fire isn't an AoE, so it's not like you go and hit something and then everything around it's lit on fire. No. It's like you hit something and then you don't get to do anything else because you missed the thing that had super high armor with your Rat 6.
Yep.
So let's start by going to an honest level. You're a newer player.
Yeah.
What is a toxic gaming experience in reality to you? What is it that ruins a game for you?
As a newer player who's learning a lot, I don't think I've really come across one yet because everything I'm facing is new. So I haven't...
You don't have an set expectation?
I don't have a set expectation. It's just, facing against 4 gun bugs really sucks. But I mean, it's just a matter of learning how to deal with them and adjusting.
So in a global setting, George, what is a toxic gaming experience supposed to be? Like when it's
You're
so
never
bad,
supposed to have a toxic gaming
but when
experience.
it's so bad that it is actually truly, I mean, there's toxic gaming experience, which is I fought this caster 5 times and I always lose. I hate this. I just haven't adjusted my lists, or I'm playing against a great player. What's a true toxic gaming experience?
Here's the problem with that phrase. It means nothing.
Yeah.
That phrase, you are not saying this caster wins a lot. You are not saying I don't like playing against this caster because it's not fun for me. Mm. You have used a word that does not actually mean anything. So it is very hard to say yay or nay on that. What I would hasten to say is that it is a much better idea to say what is unfun to play.
Yeah.
Because
or against.
To play or play against. A good thing to always remember about War Machine is the object of the game may be to win, but the point of the game is to have fun. Mm-hmm. And things that stop you having fun are what I would call a negative play experience. In the global meta, it is very hard for there to be a specific negative play experience outside of something that is straight up broken that everybody knows is broken.
Yeah.
There are, right now, I would say nothing in the game that is like that. There are things that are powerful. Mm-hmm. There are things that may seem vaguely unbeatable, but there is no longer anything that I can think of that universally everybody just says, I can never beat that. It is never fun.
I think the only thing that starts to, kick up the hackles on the back of my neck is when I look at all the tournament lists that come out from the major tournaments, and if I'm seeing the same caster in every list, and it can't just be that. It also has to be the same caster that is and the same faction that is winning every tournament, or the same set of models that's winning every tournament. And we talked about the recent troll errata quite a bit, and we realized that what was happening with trolls, and that we all universally acknowledged it, that it was getting to the point with trolls that everybody had to run a double warders list of some sort.
There is a problem, and this is the weirdest problem, basically, that you'll ever encounter. The difference between something that is extremely powerful, nigh on broken, that nobody plays, and something that is broken that everybody plays, is huge, because it doesn't matter how broken it is. If nobody ever puts it on the table, it can never get fixed.
Yeah. And it happens every once in a while that somebody unlocks a model.
For example, Denny 2. Mm-hmm. Denny 2 was not a problem for a long, 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 long time. And then somebody realized that with the way scenarios have changed over the years, suddenly her feat has become super powerful, and nobody noticed. And that was why Denny got the nerf badge.
Force Wall, same
Yeah.
thing. Same, I mean, and Force Wall hasn't gotten a nerf bad, but the day that people realized that they could win on turn by top of 2 just by the Force Wall tier list, that suddenly is awesome.
And so it will never be a negative play experience until it starts getting played.
Yeah.
The problem with the echo chamber that we now all live in, called the internet, is that when you put out a list and it wins a tournament, it gets put on the internet within minutes, and then within hours you'll have people playing that all over the world. And if that's in any way good, people will try and remove variables whenever they can. So you have a list that's good. So you're thinking to yourself, well, this is a winning list. That means that I don't have to think about list construction anymore. I'm down to list chicken and actually playing the list. And then if I can figure out list chicken from looking at 100 tournaments, then I only have to worry about actually playing the list. And people will always remove variables like that because it's easier to do than trying to figure it out yourself.
Well, and the reality is, folks, and we've said it a million times, you want to be a better player, you want to win tournaments, you can take a great player and give them the quote-unquote shittiest caster. They will create a solid list out of said caster, and they will do better than they should have done with said caster. That same guy is probably most of the time going to take a stronger caster or something that he's more comfortable with because he's playing a strong caster. But that doesn't mean that the game is broken. That doesn't mean that you won't be the special flower that finds the special list where suddenly whatever the name of whoever it is that never gets played, suddenly... everybody comes in that way.
One of the things that often causes this call of a negative play experience is a caster that is strong in one particular area and has a high advantage against a certain type of list. And if you have been winning your local tournaments with list X, and there is a list out there, list Y, that is very strong against your list, it will feel like list Y can never lose. Because if you are never changing your list, then that will never change. And you will go to the forums and you will say, there's no way anybody can beat this list because I've played 100 games against it. Well, what you aren't telling us is that you played 100 games of Karchev.
Yeah.
Right? And that will skew your perception and will skew how you present it to other people.
The other thing is often people are complaining about it's often a good player that you're playing against.
Yes.
And one of the things I want everybody to keep in mind, if you've got a guy that's beating you all the time, stop blaming the list, stop blaming your dice, stop blaming everything, and start respecting the fact that that guy's probably a good player.
Yes.
This game is so much different than half the games out there where you... So, I mean, I ran a Dungeons & Dragons group for years. Nobody in this group, nobody who listens to this podcast is part of said Dungeons & Dragons group, so I don't really need to worry about it. Except for Tom, who is part of this group, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about. I ran a Dungeons & Dragons group for years, and 2 of our players are really good at finding loopholes. And that was back in the day before erratas happened. So think about it, Dungeons & Dragons 2nd, 3rd edition didn't have erratas. You never had that moment where they went, oh crap, we really made a stupid character rule here. If you just do this, now you're completely unbeatable. Well, they would figure that out.
Yeah.
And they would break the game to the point where it was no fun anymore. Well, the problem is that those people still exist. They didn't go away.
They just play other games.
They just play other games. The problem with War Machine is it's a game in flux. It changes. They fix problems when they arise like that. So stop thinking that that's still happening, because it's not in the degree that you think it is.
One of the hardest things to realize as a War Machine player, and this is going to sound horrible, but you suck. You're bad at this game.
Yeah.
You're just straight up bad at this game. If you can't beat a list, it's because you're bad at this game. And I know that sounds really harsh and stupid, but the honest truth about War Machine is that it's balanced to within, I would say, 10%. So any caster has game against any other caster. And if two lists are balanced against each other, and it's I'm going to say a 10% variance between the two, the skill between the two players can be upwards of 70% variance.
Yep.
So you can get a good player playing a horrible list and easily beat a bad player playing an amazing list.
And when we say you suck, we're not being...
I mean specifically you. Yes, you.
Yes, you!
You're the
You
guy
suck.
you're thinking. Yeah.
No. But the thing is that is a sign of a great game.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And here's what I love about this game, and let's go to the other side of it. I am not the best player. I go 2-2 at tournaments, every tournament I've ever been to. I have never been confident at a tournament that I was going to be the winner of said tournament. There are players that the moment I see them, I know they're going to beat me. They've got 2 years worth of experience on me generally. They've got eidetic memories for the rules. They know what they're fighting. They play on Vassal 5 times a week. I know I'm not going to win, but I love it. Because I know I'm going to learn something. And there's so few things left in this world. There's so few things left in this world that I can get super excited about because I know the learning curve is never going to end.
Yeah.
And the day it does end for me, the day that we are all sitting around the table and I'm like, dudes, I got this.
Yeah.
I moved these and I beat you. You know,
That's probably the time to put down the game.
that's when you stop playing the game. So when I got into this with you guys, I got into this because I didn't see an end to it.
Yeah.
So stop trying to break the game, people.
Just enjoy the goddamn game.
Yeah, just have fun and realize that if a guy beats you, you could learn something from said player. It's not because he broke the internet.
Now, one thing that we should say here is there's a difference between a toxic play experience and a broken model.
Yes.
So, Malakarn getting infinite attacks. Obviously a broken model.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Not a game design choice.
No.
It was a loophole in the rules.
And
They plugged it.
The definition of toxic game experience is Haley 2's feat taking away an entire turn for you.
Yes.
You don't get to touch your models for half the turn.
The problem and the biggest problem with every game out there, and the thing that you have to minimize when creating a game like this is player agency. Mm-hmm. You never want to make it so that a person has a very small amount of choices. If it's okay to take away 1 or 2 as a special ability or something, but when the amount of choices that you can make shrinks, player anger goes up.
Yeah.
Well, so everything you take away, player anger goes the other way.
Remember,
so once those two meet, that's that toxic experience.
Well, and remember, what we really want is a fine game of chess between two opponents. We want my brain against yours. The moment you take away my brain from the equation for an entire, say, turn, it's no longer me battling
one activation I don't think anybody's ever going to complain about. My wife always likes to say, somebody asks her, what are all these little models? What do you do? She says, well, we play this game. It's basically chess, except I get to light people on fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think we've kind of covered that.
We've beat that with a stick.
I think we beat it, but I think we've come to a really great conclusion, which is, I think we can all agree the game isn't broken.
Nope.
I think we can all agree that we as human beings are not going to go to the internet tomorrow and complain.
Oh,
there are power. There are but you're going to complain about your access to tentacle porn. Yeah. That's completely different. Like, why does all the tentacle porn have viruses? I don't understand.
Oh man, now I need to make a Throne of Everblade conversion with an anime girl right in the center of it.
Okay, so I think the final thing is let's remain positive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To all of
positive, I suck.
To one of the people, to all the remember.
Don't be afraid to say you suck.
What's funny is the guys that do podcasts generally. I know Trevi's a really good player. I know that Marc Andre, who joins us, is a really good player. Tim's a great player who's joined us. We have great players that do podcasts, but very rarely are the people that are as excited about this game great players. Mm-hmm. Great players tend to come into this game, crush it, keep crushing it. They don't bother doing podcasts
about how much we suck.
See, the thing is, the people who tend to be really good at this game tend to not be on podcasts because the time that we spend doing podcasts, they spend being good at the game.
So
whatever. I mean, that's just
what I'm trying to say is that I think we're relatively respected players in our local meta, and we suck too.
Yeah.
So it's not the game is not broken. There are players that are going to try to outpower you just by net decking and all that type of crap. But remain positive. You will learn, and there will be a day that you just get better than them because they keep switching factions and trying to do the new list that's the new hotness, and you will keep playing your one list and crush everybody.
And really, for the guys like the one we saw today, the guy complaining about Lilith having to face it time and time again.
Yep.
There are so many resources out there now. If you're having a problem with Lilith, go on the internet. How do people deal with Lilith? I mean, Jesus
Just
Christ.
stack the deck against Lilith.
Exactly. If you have to face Lilith five times a week.
Yeah, if you go to a tournament and there are 4 people playing Lilith, here's the thing. You now know how to win that tournament.
Exactly.
All you do is get the thing that beats Lilith, and you're on the top.
Yeah, play against Lilith 50 times with whatever is the Lilith pressure that week. Yep. All right, let's put that aside.
Just a little thing that Tim said to me once. He said, I never feel comfortable with a caster till I've gotten 100 games in with them. Mm-hmm. And if you got less than 100 games, come back to me on game 101 and tell me you're still losing.
You may or may not be an expert by that point. All right, let's get ready for focus. So hit that button. Focus! All right. So today's focus, we're going to only spend about 10-15 minutes on this topic.
Oh.
Charging 101.
It's God.
Not as it is a big ruling.
Yes.
And charging is difficult for some people.
I'm just now getting the hang of charging. Seriously. After a year of playing.
Which is funny because it should be pretty simple.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Move my model to your model, hit him at the end. That seems so simple.
Yeah. It seems really simple, but charging I think is one of those things that you and I got locked into charging everything for about a year. Like, okay,
that was
I charged.
awesome.
I like everything charged.
Everything charged
every time.
Yeah.
And it was just the way we played.
Yeah.
If you could charge, if you had 3 inches.
If you had 3 inches, you were dropping that focus.
It was exactly like my dating life as a teenager. If I had 3 inches, I was charging in there. So let's start by bringing up the charge rules. It's like a full friggin' page.
Yeah.
So we're not going to go into every single iota of detail, but give me the PG semi-automatic basics of charging.
Basics of charging. You have a model. You want to get to a model. Your model has to have it in the line of sight, so it usually has to be in the front 180. You have to be able to draw a line of sight to it. Nothing in the way. Then you have to move your model in such a way as that it goes a straight line between where it starts and where it stops. It cannot contact any other models, without exceptions. It has to end in melee range, without some exceptions.
With some exceptions.
And it must, at the end of its movement, turn to face directly at the model. With no exceptions that I can think.
It generally has to turn unless you have some sort of weird place effect leaves you.
I don't think there's anything that could make you not face it at the end of the charge.
The only way I could think of that if there is a place effect that happens at the end of a charge.
Yeah, but you still have to end your charge face in that direction.
Then you do the place effect, and as long as you're still contacting that person, you get the charge attack against the person you charged against. So it would be the only case. That would be the only corner case scenario that happened. And there's a couple that. There's a couple of models that have a end of movement.
Where a lot of charging problems come up are twofold. One is the difference between towards and directly towards. Mm-hmm. And the second is how to make a clean charge. So when you are moving towards a model, when you're charging a model, you must prescribe a line across the board that would, if you had unlimited movement, and there was nothing obstructing your way, you have to end in melee.
Yeah.
So this is my first turn, and I want to cast some spells and then charge my caster across the board so I can get that extra 3 inches. You have to pick something on the other side of the board and head towards it in such a way that you would, assuming you had unlimited movement, actually end up in melee.
Yes, and it has to be a clear. And it has
you have to be able to see it, just line of sight like always.
And if you contact any other base during said movement, your charge fails, which is fine.
So the first thing is that we have to point directly at it.
Yeah.
So the next thing is we have to get there. So the first thing that might stop that would be your movement. So you measure out your movement, see if you've got it. The next thing that might happen is the volume of your base may come in contact with something that will stop your charge. So this is where clean play and declared charges come in. If you are playing cleanly, and this is a really good thing to practice, what you should do is keep in your box of tools some proxy bases. Sometimes you get proxy bases as part of the precision measuring sets. You'll get some little round proxy bases. You can make a proxy base by taking a base and stick a handle on it of some variety. Just a piece of paper or something so that you can pick it up, because there's nothing more than annoying than trying to get under the corner of a lipped base. So what you do is you take said proxy base, you leave your model where it sits, and you say, I'm going to charge this person.
This is where I'm charging.
You take your proxy base and put it where you want to be, and you say, I'm going to attempt to charge here. So the first thing you do is you take your measuring tape and you measure between the two spots, and you see whether you had distance to make that charge. Remember, in this one case, it's not closest point to closest point. It's back of base to back of base, or front of base to front of base. So you find out that you have enough distance. That's great.
Which is +3
over... Oh, sorry. When you are charging...
Yeah, you get a bonus 3
If you
inches.
are a warjack, you have to spend a focus. If you are a war beast, you must be forced to charge. If you are a warcaster or a regular warrior model, you can charge for free without spending a resource.
However, if you're part of a unit, you must have been given a run charge order.
That's correct. But I wasn't going to go into orders.
But we're not going to go huge into orders, but that's super important.
Yes.
You can't just go do a bunch of melee attacks and then charge a bunch of guys.
And one guy have charge. No.
You need to...
We
talk about units in other episodes. You need cohesion and all that good shit, and it has to be in order and blah, blah.
I'm talking about a single model.
Yep, single model. You can always run charge. You can make those decisions on your own because you're a solo model.
So I've measured the distance, and I know I've got it. So the next thing is I have to see whether I can make it there. Sometimes there will be other models in the way. Sometimes I will have to thread between two models. Sometimes my base might impact another base, something like that. One thing that I find really handy for determining this is a laser level.
Oh god, laser lines are the shit.
The laser line that I purchased was $15 at our local hardware store.
Home Depot has them.
Yeah, and I pointed at the table. You line up the right side of your base and the right side of the proxy base, and make sure that does not encounter anything. And then do the same thing for the left-hand side of the two. Then you know you have a clean charge. If your charge does encounter another base, you stop there. You bonk into that base, your charge is done.
You fail your charge, which ends your activation.
So let's go over what happens when you fail a charge. So you start your charge, you make it halfway, you hit up against something. Your charge has now failed. With normally everything is done. If you were making an assault,
which we won't go into assault.
But you do get to make your shot. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, that's because
even if you're
normal charge
under
fails.
every other circumstance, your charge fails, you're done.
But it spells that out in your card. In the assault, thing, it spells that out.
Thing, it will happen, but your charge is done.
Okay,
so let's see what happens if you make it.
Right, so we're going to talk about when you make it. First off, to be a successful charge, let's spell this out.
Okay.
You need to have moved a total of 3 inches.
That's not correct.
To be a successful charge.
No, you can make a successful charge of any distance.
Right, sorry, no. In order to get your charge bonus die.
Okay, yes. To get an extra die.
So let's say you do your charges. You've moved all your models.
So this is what I was talking about. So we have successfully charged. We have moved a distance. It can be anything from 0 to the maximum range of your model. You have ended in melee with the other model.
You have successfully charged.
Yeah, you have successfully charged. Now there's some things you got to check. So the first thing you check, as you were talking about, is have I moved 3 inches? Because if I've moved 3 inches, then I'm going to get a bonus die on my damage.
You've built up enough momentum.
It's not an additional die, it is a boosted die. And that's important because you can't then boost it.
Yeah.
So I get a boosted die on damage. So I've ended in melee. I've decided whether I've got my boosted damage or not.
Yep.
So then I rolled a hit. This is a boostable if you are the kind of model that can do that type of thing.
Yep.
Then you roll your damage, and if you've moved your 3 inches, then it's boosted.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a model that can then do something else, this is the time to do it. So say I have a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
I move up, I've charged, I've done my damage, I've killed the model, I can now sprint away.
Yeah. So that
or
happens
if I
after
have
the melee,
reform.
yeah.
Now, if I had failed the charge,
You lose
that model's activation ends. So, no reform, no sprint, no nothing.
So
It's
let's
done.
recap, because I think we're getting a little bit confusing here. The first thing you do is you declare your charge.
Mm-hmm.
You use a proxy base or something else to say, this is where I intend to charge. This is my intent.
Yeah.
You then measure the distance to make sure that you can achieve said charge, like whether it's too far or too short, whatever. If there's any intervening models within your charge, within your declared, once you've created the intent, remember, you have to do it.
Yeah.
You don't get to go, oh, I couldn't make it, so I'm going to charge this guy instead. No, you
once
declared
you
your
put
intent.
down that proxy base,
Yeah.
you have declared your intent. Now, I'm not saying that you can't wiggle your proxy base around at the other end. So you put it down, it's like, I want to be at the limit of my range. So you put your model down. And but as soon as you're done, okay, I'm going to charge there, you're committed.
Okay, so you've declared your intent, you've put down your proxy base, or you've done whatever it is you're going to say, you've made your first measurement, which is a great way of saying that's my intent. Generally, if you're playing with another good player, they're going to say, dude, you measured.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
If you impact anything along said charge lane, your charge ends immediately. Whether it's an obstacle, you can't charge over a wall, for example. That's something that's important to mention, because you can't do combat actions over walls. Anything along those lines that you impact along the way, stop your charge, and immediately you fail your charge, that activation is over. If you make your charge, if you get all the way to your charge target, you then face directly into your charge target. Mm-hmm. You then measure to see whether you have moved more than 3 inches or more.
Yep.
If you have moved 3 inches or more, you now get a boosted die on your damage roll, not on your attack roll. And depending on what kind of model, you may have some benefit for doing charges. You then make your attack. You then do your damage. That's it. That's all. There's nothing... I mean, we can go into a million...
Unless there is something that you can do.
Yeah.
The important thing is that if you make your charge, the model's activation isn't automatically over.
Yeah.
It can be over.
It's
90% of models, it's over.
But say for warcasters, you get to still do your spells and all kinds of other
more
stuff,
attacks,
which is why charges are
stuff.
really powerful for casters, because it gives them that extra 3 inches of movement. It also means that you can cast beforehand. If you can't cast and then decide to run, but you can cast and then charge.
Yeah.
If you have assault, it's another thing. If you have some star actions that give you a teleport or whatever, a place effect, that's another thing. There's all I mentioned on the stream that, of course, that you can charge over walls with Pathfinder. But as a general, there's a lot of things out there that break rules, but we're going to go with the basics, which say, hey now.
Yeah, there's
can't do a combat action.
There's a dozen things here. Pathfinder allows you to charge over a wall. As I said, what is it? Sprint allows you to run away. Not admonition. The other one that
refuge.
Refuge. You hit a thing, keep going.
Yep.
There's all kinds of fun rules that can affect that.
Now,
but for charging, that's sort of the basics.
Is there a debuff that prevent you from charging to start
with?
Yes. This isn't directly as part of the charge, but any time that your model's speed has been affected in a negative way, that will stop you from doing combat movement actions. Combat movement actions here are charge, trample, anything that involves movement and hurting things.
Right. So, if I'm suffering icy grip, I got a -2 to my speed. No charging. You're done.
You're done.
Yep. Yeah, it's always bad.
Yeah.
Always super, super bad. One of the things I also wanted to talk about quickly was when not to charge.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to throw this out to you, Maelstrom, while George fixes some slight memory issues that we have.
George.
So when do you think it's a good idea to charge? Let's say with a jack or a beast,
Right.
which it comes up. George and I fully admit that we used to charge any chance we got.
Yeah.
You spent the focus and you charged. But
Yeah.
when is it a bad idea to charge?
Probably if you have some kind of already like a buff on your attack and damage rolls, specifically your damage, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need the extra momentum to
So
charge.
like your
Like a shredder that you rabid, you don't need to charge to spend that extra
Absolutely.
fury to get up in that.
That's a
extra
perfect
3 inches.
example. The other example that we use all the time with people now, because we learned this lesson, is if you can move,
Yeah,
Do it.
do it.
if you can just move to your target, you don't need the charge,
Mm-hmm.
then just do it. Half the time you don't necessarily need to boost your damage, particularly on a beast who has, say, a POW 19.
Right.
You don't need... You may
Save the focus or
save
fury
the
for
focus
something else.
because it gives you the options. You now have an open world of options, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
For a good example of this is a melee beast.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got some kind of beater.
Yeah.
If it's a beast, say it's got Fury 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cost you 1 Fury to charge.
Right.
If you miss that charge attack and
Yeah.
you didn't need the movement to get there, you've wasted that
wasted
Fury.
a fury. Yeah.
If you walk up and attack and you
Yeah.
miss, you haven't spent that Fury.
Right.
You can use it to buy another attack.
Or you could use it to boost your
Or
attack.
you could use it to boost the attack.
Or if you make a charge attack and you fuck up somehow and there's a wall in the way or another model suddenly stops your charge, or then you find out that they have polarity shield or you can't charge them or whatever.
Yeah.
In that case, that's a corner case that I think you can't actually charge, so it would have just failed.
Well,
But-
I wanted to just mention that for a second because I was thinking about that earlier. There are some cases where it's not a failed charge; it's a
You can't.
it's an impossibility, and that's just a failed game state.
Which is
so
resets.
if you go to charge something on the other side of a forest, and your opponent points out that you can't see through that forest, because you could not satisfy the conditions of charging at the beginning, which is it in your line of sight, then that action does not happen, and it's rolled back to before that action actually happened. So, like the polarity shield, where it literally says you cannot charge, not charges automatically fail.
Yeah.
That was just not valid game state. Roll it back.
But here's the important fact in all of that to go back. If you fail a charge, your activation is over.
Yes.
So this is another important reason to not always charge.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that the way that we play at 50 points on a 4x4 board, a lot of charges fail more than you think.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not playing friendly games anymore. Yeah. When laser level lines start getting whipped out, there's a lot of times that you're like, oh shit, I could have made that. And now your charge fails. If you didn't charge, if you just moved, well, you just finish your movement, get there, do what you wanted to do, and then use all... And I can't make it there. Oh, now I've got all these 4 models for me to hit, or an Animus to pop, or whatever else.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. The next segment, because we haven't done this, we haven't had the 3 of us in front of camera to talk about stuff in a while. We're going to spend 5-10 minutes answering our viewer questions because we started late. Of course, we're going to end late tonight.
Yep.
So we've got a bunch of viewer questions coming from Reddit today, a bunch of viewer questions from our Facebook page. We'll start with, and I'll hand over the Reddit question. Oh, no, I've got Reddit on here. I'll hand out the question. So, Chris Johnston asks, also to those people watching the stream tonight and those people that don't watch the stream regularly, watch the stream, you can be involved. If you've got some questions for us, you want to throw it to us tonight, we'll try to answer them the best we can. As we've said a million times, we are not super expert players, so I can't necessarily say that we'll answer them correctly.
But we do have access to War Room.
We have access to War Room on a regular basis, and Mark
it's
Andre
working.
can come and make fun of us later for
Yep.
screwing things up.
And we have almost memorized the Banky list of ways to figure out resolve any dispute.
Well, and we've created our own.
Yeah.
So, Chris Johnston asks, what do you think the 3 model units will define the meta at lock and load?
Which of the new 3 model units?
What do you
Just
think?
3.
Just come up with three.
Is
What
it
do you
three
think? I think
models / units.
it's kind of
three
what-
models /
come up
units,
with
not
three that you think are going to define lock and load. Well, I'm going to throw this out. I'll throw out my opinion right off the bat.
Croak Raiders.
I think Croak Raiders, and I think Blood Witch Night, or
Yeah.
Blood
Witch Night Weavers things.
Blood Weaver Night Witches.
Blood Weaver Night Witch.
I think they're the people that crack them, the way that I'm cracking them right now, are going to realize that they're like Lord of the Feast on crack for 2 points.
I would add to that
They're 2 points.
the third thing is going to be the thing that we don't know about yet.
Yeah,
Because
that like,
at Lock and
oh,
Load,
shit.
there's always a pre-release,
Yeah.
and it is very seldom not good.
Yeah.
That's my circle. That's my circle go for. But I think Blightbringer.
Oh, yeah. Lightbringer is kind of meta bending right now because it's so good.
So good.
But I'm not sure it will break Lock and Load. Just because by the time we get to Lock and Load, it is a really known.
And everybody's been using it.
yeah,
It's been
it's-
play tested to
I think we'll have
death.
cracked it by then.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
think there, Jason?
I'm with you on the Croak Raiders and the Blood Witch.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are kind of.
They just ping.
People just aren't
fucking
playing
infantry.
them yet. Like people really aren't playing.
Well,
them
they should be because they're
I
disgusting.
think the higher up you get, the more important Croak Raiders. Like the more you'll see them. I think most local metas haven't really cracked the Croak Raiders.
Well, Croak Raiders, let's just be straight up. They are an awesome, cheap answer to Armor Skew.
Yeah.
They're when you can do on something with Armor 20 an average of 30 damage.
Yeah.
yeah,
Disgusting.
Now
Sick.
No, that's just
Are
doing
the-
like that's straight up like.
are the
FL
battle
mana.
boars out by then? Or are they out in May?
Oh, Splatter Boars.
I think the bacon list might do it,
Especially
soon.
for seeing that many colossals being thrown down. The big thing is the Splatter Boars just shut down colossals.
Yeah,
so.
the new both the Splatterboar and the or pig, whatever.
War Pig, yeah. I think that they're just
Those two lights are kind of.
And we don't play against minions that much. So the guys who have been playing minions that have been waiting for these models to come out,
I
are going
think that
to
could be
kill
a
it.
really
Yeah.
big power list.
And you've already got Croaks. It's just going to be stupid.
Yeah.
So there we go. There's our answer to that one. In the year of model remakes, James Craig, who's going to be on the show next week, hopefully.
Oh, nice.
In the year of model remakes, which models do you feel are in the most need of a refreshing from a sculpting point of view? Like Gristle and Denny have been done. Follow up with the same question, but wishing for a rule makeover or tweak.
Well, I think it's
So
really
let's start
obvious.
with the model.
Black 13th.
Yeah.
If we aren't already seeing him with Kane's friends,
Speak to me, brother!
Black 13th, just Black 13th. I love them. I hate model because he's so tiny. It's just tiny little models. Now, if I had to pick a non-Black 13th, I think. Oh, what would I really like a resculpt of?
I want to see Nis. Not.
Yeah.
I list whatever. Why am I?
Any of them is.
Well,
No.
The ones from Mercs. The old
and
metal-
Selena Rafael
Selena
and the
Ra-
Nis Hunters.
and the Nis Hunters.
I
they
don't
have
think-
separated heads.
I
and
don't think
whole
they
nine
need
yards.
a resculpting. I think they need a change to plastic.
Change of plastic, but they're also just a really like they look like they've got like they look like horrible Vulcans. They've got like giant noses
Yeah.
and the horrible hair. It's just like they're not a pretty. The swords are beautiful.
Yeah.
Other than that, they're just pieces of shit.
My second would be Darius.
Oh god, I'd love to see
Because the man in the toilet bowl needs some love.
yeah.
His model could be so amazing. Make it a like the actual Jack armor itself as one model, and then have him give me two options. Give me a closed top, and give me an open top with a model that's hanging onto it, and him fixing the Jack like with a wrench in his hand or something.
It's just an active model.
It's such an amazing model, and this is actually also my nomination for rules makeover.
Yeah, Darius rule makeover would be pretty bad.
Darius took the Nerf bat to the face in Mark 2. In Mark 1, he was a beast. He was incredible. He was the Jackcaster. But in Mark II, he got it right in the face. And I would love to see Darius full disclosure here. Signar was my first faction.
Yeah, so
There's still a lot of love for Signar there. Several times I have thought really seriously about going back to them. But the one model that I always have loved is Darius, and I so wish he had both a resculpt and a models update. Maelstrom, what do you think for a resculpt? Is there anything?
We were just talking about it on the forum there.
Is there
Abby
anything?
1 needs... Yeah, Abby 1 is in need of a serious resculpt.
I would have to agree with you.
Yeah.
Abby 1...
Especially considering how amazing Abby 2 is.
Yeah.
Abby 1 is just... God, even Vale 1, I mean, is serviceable, but jeez.
So you play Legion.
Yeah.
Is there anything you've come across yet in Legion that makes you go, well, this is just kind of stupid?
Oh, everything. Stupid.
No,
awesome.
I don't mean is broken and horribly awesome. I mean something like, what the heck? Why? What were they thinking? That
I think we've talked about this before. What's his name? That character beast with the tentacles.
Proteus.
Proteus is beautiful, but his
Too
rules
many
are
points.
shit.
Too many points.
Yeah.
I think Circle's pretty balanced right now. Grail could definitely use a bit of an overhaul because he's just everything works against him. Signar, we just have such a plethora of riches. It's really difficult. I think Minions needs another solid caster. It'd be nice for them to take.
Well, we're talking about a caster that already exists that needs an overhaul. Who do you think?
Oh well, Signar, I would say, what's her name? The babe with the
Kara?
with the
Kara
giant
Sloan?
gun, yeah. Who's like everybody wants to buy. You want to buy that model the day every Signar player ever is like, I love it. It's got a giant freaking awesome sniper rifle. This is gonna be. Oh, what do you mean she sucks? What do you mean she's Kane?
Yeah,
nerfed Kane.
Yeah, a little bit lesser Kane.
If you want to talk about Circle, I think it would just be nice for Grail to have better rules. I think the same thing. I mean, Cassius is now coming into his own with some he's suddenly being played again because there's been some better.
I love that model, by the way.
But I mean, again, he's supposed to be the best. He's supposed to be like the leader of. He's supposed to be the all the other guys are supposed to be shitting in their boots when they see him come down the battlefield.
It's not him they're scared of. It's a goddamn
Well,
tree.
that's what I mean. Like he's supposed to be
Tree keeps eating
so
people.
badass, and then you're like 6 focus, what? Or
What?
6 fury? Why?
Why?
He's got the best spell. I mean, yes, he gets more when everything dies, but blah, blah, blah. Every friggin' Crix caster gets souls when something dies and they can turn it into focus. All right, so do you feel like War Machine... Sorry, from Reddit. Triggle asks, do you feel like War Machine and Hordes is a game where you could point to a model you really like the look of and say, I can make this work?
Absolutely. There is no turd that cannot be polished in this game.
To put it beautifully.
There is always a caster that will polish that turd, and there's always a model that will make that caster turd look just a little bit more shiny.
Yep.
Sure, you may not want to play Proteus, but then you have Proteus and Abby too, and he can fly 12 inches, drop down in front of something, pull it in 4 inches, and then carnivore it to death and heal Abby 2 for 2 points.
Absolutely.
It's just kind of stupid. Yeah. There is no turd that cannot be cleaned up.
Yeah. We've also said this a million times. Take any shitty caster you can think of.
Yeah.
Play 50 games with it.
Yep.
I guarantee you, by game 50, you will start winning game after game after game. Most of the problem with the really turd casters, there are sub-powered casters.
Oh, yeah. There are casters that are not quite as powerful as other casters, but that doesn't mean they're bad.
That doesn't mean that it's just that people don't play them, so they haven't been quote-unquote unlocked.
This one is 100. This one is 95. Well, you know what? I can probably still win with the 95.
If you figure it out, there are turd casters. Let's be straight up honest. There are ones that you don't want to play them because the learning curve on them is going to be super, super high.
So I got the Trolls battle box and the caster in there. It's just goddamn awful.
No, he's not. He's
really?
So good.
He's
so good, but the battle box around him is what's letting him down.
Oh, maybe. Well, that's what it is. Okay.
It's everything else.
And
he's also the lowest point. That battle box is the lowest point.
Oh, is it really?
So you're playing 5 points down from everybody else.
Yeah.
Good.
The Madrak 1 just can ignore one hit Literally just like straight up, oh, you have an assassination run? Oh, look, I'm all out of fury. That attack didn't happen. Like, I mean...
and I'm tough, so...
Oh, yeah, look, 5, 6.
Never mind, I rolled a 5, so I'm still alive and you die.
Madrak won so good. But you're right. If you're playing him in the battle box, you're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
It is a bad battle box. That needs an overhaul, is the Troll battle box. There's so much better out there.
I would say to anybody who's looking to start Trolls and they want a
Look
battle box experience, look for the alternate battle boxes in the Journeyman kit. That will help you out.
Okay, so what do you guys do when you can't make it to a local game night or tournament? Somebody here, his name is Troll Fail, hasn't gotten a game in this year, and
Warders.
It's killing him. Well, he hasn't got a game in this year, so he probably wasn't playing
this
Warders.
year. Oh,
in a year or this year?
Maybe
probably this year since the beginning of the year.
So yeah, he was playing Warders, and then
the nerf came out, and it's like that's it.
I don't want to play anymore.
So if you can't get out to local game nights, there's a couple of things you can do. One is look up Vassal. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve to get that software running because it is a little bit of a complex piece of software, but there's lots of people out there that will help you out. You can get a game of on Vassal on the internet any night of the week.
Or you do what George did.
Just make
Sucker
it happen
your
locally.
friend.
Yes.
Take a friend or two or 6.
Grab a 2-player starter box, paint up both sides of it, and find some unsuspecting chump, invite him over for a board game night, and go, hey, look at this board game. It is a game we play on a board.
Yeah.
And don't tell his wife that he will now be broke for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Probably start a podcast. What defensive stats would it take to make single wound infantry survivable? It seems like the amount and quality of removal has made the base stats PP set unviable, and rules like shield wall defense line are a trap in a world of increasingly common continuous effect AoEs. That's a really... Thank you, Landgraft. That is the most complicated question I could... What defensive stats would it actually take to make a single wound infantry survivable?
It's real easy. It's tough.
Tough?
Like, it already exists. The answer is tough. What tough does is it gives you a 33% chance of ignoring that damage.
Yep.
So it is not game breaking because you can't just say my models are immune to all effects. That's just not a viable way of doing it. What you need to do is put some randomness in there. Another thing you can do is
high defense on a hill. Always.
Well, that won't save you from AoEs.
True.
The other thing that you can do, and this isn't directly on that model, but the way Axis's tier list gets around it is recursion. Mm-hmm. So if I'm playing Axis into a bunch of AoEs, I know that basically 20% of my army is going to die every turn at minimum, often much more. But the recursion mechanic allows me to put them back into play in a large enough amount that it doesn't matter that they're def 12... single point infantry.
And here's the thing: recursion isn't always an option.
No,
but
it's
tough.
not.
But tough almost always is.
Could be, yeah.
There is minion add-ons. There is merc add-ons that work for almost every faction that doesn't already have tough all over the damn place.
Yeah.
So look at doing the Piper. Look at doing the Gatorman Witchcroft doc.
Yeah.
Those add tough to a unit. So if you really want to play a unit, you really love them, then the solution is blow those 2-3 points.
Yeah, and do that. Now, one of the things about single wound models is don't get too attached to them.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things I had to learn as a new player was if I win this game with one model left on the board, I have lost the correct amount of things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because I've won the game. I've used my resources to exactly the right amount that I have won the game.
Yeah.
If you are winning the game with everything still on the board, then you probably didn't win either anywhere near as fast as you could have or anywhere near as aggressive as you could have.
Well, and Jason and I talk about this a lot, is start sacrificing.
Use your resources.
That's something it's hard to learn as a beginner.
It's so hard to learn.
Because I lose 2 of my Hex Hunters and like, That's it. Game over. I'm fucking dead.
You look at those. Well, you look at these
It's
models
hard
that
not to
you
freak
painted.
out. Yeah, it's like,
and you love so much, and they're
Yeah.
dying. They're burning to death.
It's
What
like you
can
get
I-
emotionally
How do I
attached.
stop them burning to death?
Yeah.
You have to.
The trick is those 3 models are burning to death so that the important one that's behind it that's
Can
going
run
to
in there
can
and
go
kick
run in
some
there
ass.
and win the day.
Yeah.
All right, so why is Crix so OP? I just won my first game with them playing 10 points down accidentally. That's from Luke.
So the reason that Crix is so OP is because Crix awesome.
Yeah.
The problem is Crix. Okay, so remember that earlier part where I said you suck? The thing with Crix is
if you're winning with Crix,
you can suck and still
Still
win
win.
games.
They have an I win button.
Yeah.
Crix
No,
aren't that bad.
This is a very interesting thing. When you're playing a faction like Crix, their battle plan is simple enough that you can start winning earlier than you can with other factions because you figured out their battle plan. So a convergence battle plan requires a multitude of pieces all running
Is he trying
together.
to say that his convergence battle plan is
No, I'm just saying that
I think
they're
so.
complicated. So you have a whole
let
bunch of
stuff
models.
die, bring it back.
You have a whole bunch of models, and you have to activate them in a certain order. And if you activate them all in the right order, it all works. With Crix, your battle plan can be, with the correct list, run forward, check to see if they are in charge. If they are in charge, charge. If they are not in charge, run forward. And that battle plan can actually work in Crix, which means you get to start winning earlier.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that Crix doesn't have some amazing, janky armies that can be really complex. It just means that there are Crix battle plans that just involve running forward, putting axe to face.
I believe it goes Banes,
Banes.
and Banes.
So
and then Bane,
you
more
take
Banes.
Tartarus, and then Banes, and then Banes, and then Banes, and then Banes, and then pick any caster and 1 jack, and you
Yeah,
win.
and you win.
Banes and Banes. All right, which factions need to work the hardest for a win?
From the same guy.
Oh, work the
Same
hardest. Easy one here is minions.
Yeah,
They have really subpar beasts right now. I would say some of their splatterboards and stuff are going to change that. But as a rule, they got kind of shafted in the beast department. So you have to work harder for them to win. Now, it's not that you can't win. It's just going to be a harder slog. I would also like to say Ret, if you haven't played them before. They need to work harder for their wins.
Yeah.
And if you're not conversant with them and you're not playing the Access tier, Convergence, you need to work harder for the win.
Yeah.
I think those are like the quick answers.
Well, the good news is that with something like Crix, for example,
Yeah.
because we are going to play against them, you will crack the easy to beat Crix players.
Yes.
They'll be great when you're still learning and they're still learning because their tactics, the base
are
tactics from
simpler.
the base battle box on are relatively simple. You're going to crack them relatively early on, and then you run into the good Crix players like Tim.
Yeah, and
then you're
they'll
boned.
crack you.
Yeah, and then they'll crack you over the head because now they've taken that and they've turned it up to 11. As far as every faction is good.
Yes.
There is no faction that is horrible, except for Minions. I'm just kidding.
Hey, let's be honest here. Minions isn't a faction.
No, that's true. That's what it is. Well, here's the thing: when you play that one Gator that Gator caster that
my God.
storms up the field and you can't hit him for 3
Rask,
rounds.
3 units of Gators.
Yeah.
The Gators engage you. Bog Trug Shamblers come boiling in off the
It's
sideline.
ridiculous.
You're boned. Like, I mean, it's not that there aren't good lists. I just think they have to work harder for the win.
Yep. So, I mean, which one is the I win button? One's the I win button.
No.
They all have rock, paper, scissors against other certain factions. And they all have good points and bad points. There are factions that are tougher to learn how to be from the get-go. Minions, Mercs are great examples because they're limited. They have a difficult learning curve. Retribution, another difficult learning curve. COC, difficult learning curve.
Yeah. As I said, they just need to work harder for the
If
win.
you want to be if you just want to be really good out the gate, play Legion or Crix. I mean, you could pretty much just be a Druid.
I disagree.
A pillow.
I've been playing Legion for a year, and I'm still not really that good out of the game.
All right, moving right along. We got to get these questions done. How many models helped you shovel your driveway?
Oh. Well, there was the one.
That came from Aggie Face.
Oh.
Thanks, Aggie.
Extreme Juggernaut.
None of my models.
My Extreme Juggernaut's axe is big enough I was able to use it as a snow shovel.
I just used the Merc what's it called, the dwarven thing. I just shoved
the
battle engine, shoved it down the driveway.
I just had everything melted down.
Yeah. I don't have any money anymore.
Yeah.
It's just melted on.
But I have lots of models with fire types, so my driveway's clean.
Yeah.
All right. Frank Thompson asks, I've read the rules and read breakdowns before, but I'm still ICP and the magnets level of confused.
How do they work?
Magnets.
When it comes to line of sight and hills. Okay, line of sight and hills. Let me break this down real quick for you. We're going to talk on hills or off hills? Let's start that.
Are we going to talk volume and height and...
We did a whole cast on this last
week. The short answer is there is no quick way.
Yeah.
Here, let me give you bullet points. Line of sight. You can always see a big thing behind a small thing. Otherwise, part of your base has to be able to draw a direct line to part of their base. Hills. If you are up on a hill, you can see over everything that is your base size and smaller.
Yep.
So, Gargantuan on a hill sees everything.
Gargantuan, everything under Gargantuan can always see the Gargantuan.
Yes,
so
but
ignore that.
I mean, a Gargantuan on a hill sees everything. So that's it.
You basically gain a model height by standing on a hill. You
have a thing called elevation.
Yes,
Yeah.
you now have elevation.
When a thing has elevation,
I'm trying to make it easy for people to understand who are not word oriented like you. Think of it this way: if you're a small model, you can now see over other small models being on a hill, as if you were a medium model. It's pretty much like it, but without the same wording, because you now have elevation.
Yeah.
If you are trying to see over a medium model and you're a small model, the medium model is now another small model, so it would be the same as you seeing through a small model, basically. If you are a medium model standing on a hill, you can now see over medium models and small models. If you're a large model standing over a hill, you can now see over large models, medium models, small models. If you're a Gargantuan on a hill, you can see over all the things. Standing behind a hill requires agreement from the two players that is...
Yeah, figure it out at the first of the game.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the game, declare that this is a hill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you point out that hills have elevation, and ask quickly how tall the hill is. So say, this is a 2-inch hill, this is forest, this is water.
Yeah.
And if your opponent agrees to that, then you can find out that things that have a 2.5 inch model volume can see over it, and things that have a 1.75 inch.
The biggest thing is agree to it before the game starts.
Always discuss terrain before you start game.
Because the reality is that if you didn't agree to any of that shit,
it don't happen.
Yeah. If you just say, this is a hill, it gives me +2 defense when I'm standing on it.
That's all
it gives you. You need to discuss said things.
Figure it out.
Also, is this deep water? Is this normal water?
It's never deep water.
It's never deep water. Shut the fuck up, Tom. All right, so Tim, last question for the evening, because we got a lot of questions, and I want to make sure we answer them all.
We should make that a thing.
Sometimes when we have...
We're
only 15 minutes past
We should make it a thing that we will pick two questions and answer them.
Well, it's good to try to get all... We're only 15 minutes over.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's not the end of the world. We only
still
started
have
15
some
minutes.
viewers.
We only started 15 minutes late. Here's a question. My group of friends is always looking for an alternate game type that goes pretty fast. Lately, we've been playing 20-point Mangled Metal with 5-minute turns. Mm-hmm. Are there any off-the-books game types that you guys like to play for funsies?
So...
Well, if it doesn't have to be fast...
But that's what they're looking for, is fast.
Let's give it to Maelstrom first. Maelstrom had an answer.
So
we're trying to encourage him to speak more.
I was going to throw this to you, actually, because you organized a tournament early this week at our local meta that involved quick games and getting shit done fast.
Well, I like playing Speed Machine.
Right.
Speed Machine, there's a set of rules out there. Just look up what are the rules to Speed Machine.
Mm-hmm. Speed Machine!
You'll find it. There's variations on said rules, but you have a very short clock time, so you need clocks to play it. Mm-hmm. And we did it with 2x2 tables, which means that you can play with a very large volume of players in a small room, which is the only reason why I encourage everybody to do that, because we had 12 players in a room that normally we have 6.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it was a great way. We got through 3 games in under an hour.
Yeah.
That's one great option. So look up Speed Machine, check it out. Other great options, G.
Thunderdome.
What is Thunderdome?
Thunderdome is 12. The way we normally play it, 12 casters enter, 1 caster leaves. So it's 6 people around a 4x4 table. Each person has 2 casters, and basically the last caster standing wins.
Yep.
So everybody basically rushes the middle and tries to kill everybody.
Super, super fun.
So question.
Yeah.
Do the twins count as 1 or 2 casters?
Oh, well,
Same
if you
Thunderdome.
take them as 2 separate casters, well, then they're 2 casters.
Yeah, but
if you take the
as the
twins
unit.
as one
Any
unit,
caster unit is considered a caster.
caster.
So
As one
that
caster.
is why a lot of people during...
Because really, you get 3 casters.
You either go...
Or-
I've seen a
or
lot of people in
5.
by the 3rd or 4th time if they want to power
the
win.
witches,
Yeah.
if
Or 4.
you go with cricks,
Yeah.
they're 4 models.
Oh my god.
And then you have a 5th model.
No,
Another caster.
They're 3...
There are 4 models.
Oh,
3
because
witches
yeah,
and
they're
an
3 witches in the
Aragorn.
eye. Right. Sorry, you meant because you get another caster.
And then
Well, that
another
sounds
caster
broken.
for the 5th one.
It's not that broken because here's the thing. Like
Yeah.
Only
a
one.
a lot of
die
people
easily.
do it.
Yeah.
A lot of people do one of 2 things. That like 5th time they play Thunderdome is they take the large base caster and
or
then
a
they-
huge base caster.
huge base
Yeah.
caster because they're generally like OP because they can't hide behind anything. Or they take the caster unit
Yeah.
because now you're a caster. I've got 3 models. This should be awesome, and it very rarely works out in their favor. Okay, guys, we're gonna leave all that shit behind.
Leave the questions behind.
That was a long episode. Thanks for sticking around. All the folks that stuck around, hit that button.
The lightning round.
All right, so lightning round. 10 of the hardest questions in War Machine. I actually have to pull up Minty's answer to the last one because it's that long, so I'll pull that up when we get closer to the end. All right, which circle caster can only take constructs in his battle group?
Baldur 1.
No, it's Bradigus.
Radigus.
It is Bradigus.
Huh.
Oh.
Question number 2. What is the range on a choir of Menoth's hymn? I'm going to have to give it to BGC.
Yeah.
3 inches?
It is 3 inches.
I was going to say that too.
What is the speed of an agonizer?
Ooh. I was just looking at agonizers yesterday.
Of course you are. You play
I'm
sport
going to
now.
say... I'm going to say speed 5.
It is speed 5. Very
Nice. Good job.
good. You're killing it
guess.
today.
Yeah.
Except for the first one where you didn't think Bradigus. What the fuck, dude? Question number 4.
It's 2
What
hours.
is the secondary effect of the spell Scourge other than the damage? What's the like effect of the spell Scourge?
I'm going to say loses flight?
No, you want to guess?
No, I don't know.
Knockdown.
Knockdown.
Oh, I should have known.
That was you could have guessed that. You
Yeah, I could've.
totes McGroats, you could have guessed that.
Damn it.
What 2 tokens are generated when a model is removed from play?
Corpse and a soul?
No, because a model removed from play generates no tokens because it's been removed from play.
Trick question.
Minus 4 points for George.
All right, I'm still in the game.
Question number 6. What is the minimum distance you must move to make a charge?
0.
0. Exactly. Because you always successfully charge. You don't generate the tokens if you remove from play. Don't even try.
I think it does.
But
I'm going to have to look it up.
but nobody gets the tokens because you're removed from play. It may generate them. Sorry, I could have worded it better, but
I
but as
think
far
it
as
might
I
still
understand,
generate them.
I believe removed from play takes anyway. Whatever. You know what I mean. Nobody's gonna get any fucking tokens because you've been removed from play. All right. He's trying to game me. He's trying to be like that guy at D&D who's like, I read a rule that said
I'll look it up
the
later.
trippy monk
I gotta
can
check.
just keep on tripping. You can never get to come up.
Trippy.
Trippy monk. All right,
Trippy.
question number 7. What SR 2015 objective gives free charges? I believe you actually
Fuel cash?
won. It is fuel cash.
God damn it.
Question number 8.
So close.
During the turn, it has been...
Can't read his own writing.
During the turn it has been promoted, what orders can a leader model give?
None.
None. You cannot give.
Can't do free strikes.
I wouldn't
Can't
have
do
got
free
that
strikes. You can't give orders on the thing. I did 2 trick questions.
one. I learned something today.
Question number
Just
9.
how to switch with the.
Yeah.
What 2 icon abilities are on each Trollkin rune shaper? So you know when I was talking about the icons? There's like
Yeah.
What are the 2 icon abilities on each Trollkin rune shaper?
I know one of them because that's the easy one. What is the other one? I'm going to say the Iron Cross for fearless and the nails for tough.
It's close. It's tough and Pathfinder.
Oh,
Tough and Pathfinder on the rune shapers. Okay, question number 10, the minty fresh question of the week, which I need to pull up the answer for.
I'm never getting this
Because
one.
it's madness. I gotta find the right answer. Alright. I'm pulling up the answer because it's that. Oh, there it is. It's the giant long answer. Okay. What combination of. I'm going to pull up my proper. What combination of abilities versus infantry made the Cankerworm a negative play experience in Mark 1?
I have no idea because I never played Mark 1.
Neither do you. Alright.
Mark
Sorry.
1?
We'll give everybody some time to figure out what it was.
Can I make a random
You can
guess?
make it. Yeah, go for it.
Based on what it does now, it had. Let me guess. It had follow up, like the one where you can kill another model, and then based on what it does now with taking the weapon, for every model you killed during the follow up, you added its POW, the POW of the weapon, to the next attack. So you kill the first guy, he had a POW 4 weapon, so now the weapon is say POW 8, and then you kill the next guy and it's a POW 12, the next
like a
guy
Scorn thing.
POW
Yeah.
16.
Yeah.
I think they just made that a Scorn thing now. All right, so here we go.
That's my guess.
Armor piercing was automatic. Advanced deploy, extended range with Asphyxious, all terrain, which is now Pathfinder. It could spend a focus to make any model it damaged that activation roll 1 less die on damage rolls for 1 round. It gained an extra die on attack rolls against living models and automatically gained a focus point if killed a living model. It got an equivalent ability to sprint that kicked in at the end of its combat activation. It had stealth. It also still had salvage and replicator. Let's just say most broken thing ever.
That's insane.
So,
Except for Vlad 1.
So, if you want to complain about your model losing Weapon Master, imagine
But the
you're a
poor
Crix
cankerworm
player
lovers, yeah.
and you had 5 cankerworms, let's just say.
Or you were playing Darius.
All right,
Vlad.
Minty came up with that one.
Yeah, what the fuck?
And then I made it harder by making him give all the things on it because it was so ridiculous. Because I wanted people to understand how bad it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George, what events do we have coming up? Let's just do this weekend because we've
this
gone so
weekend-
far overboard.
This weekend in Ottawa here, we are about to do the Next in the World Ender Invitational Series. Now, this isn't an actual invitational. This is a points one.
Yep.
So, this Saturday at our local LGS, the Wizards Tower, there will be an event.
Now-
So come on out and play some games, score some points, have some fun.
And hopefully check it out this Sunday. If all the internets work, we might just have streaming games. We're not 100%
It's
sure.
Saturday, but yes.
Saturday. Oh, it's Saturday? I
believe- I
can't
believe
be
it's
there. I
Saturday.
thought it was Sunday, but
It might be Sunday.
I'll
take a look.
We'll figure that out.
We have no idea.
We have no idea what's going on. There's no events going on. I don't know.
Just staying in
Ottawa,
houses.
dead meta, really.
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
plays Guild Ball here now. Just kidding. Okay, so that's it for tonight's show. We're going to tell you all the different ways to get in touch with Moose Machine. If you have comments or questions and you want to be part of the podcast, please join us live on the stream. Also, go to the Muse on Minis page and log into the forums. If you have questions for us, we always post when we're about to put the stream up, so you can ask us questions right there. And that keeps us engaged, keeps you engaged. And it's been a great show. Thanks for all the people that joined us on the stream. It's pretty much, I think we're like 45 minutes over our normal time.
Do we have
so
a moral for the episode tonight?
a moral?
Yeah, like an overlying theme.
What do you think the moral?
Maybe stop whining and just not suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, good night,
have fun.
everybody.
Good night, dudes and ladies and people.
Dice down!
Moose Machine and This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes is a proud part of the Muse on Minis network. Podcasts go online every Thursday morning. You can watch the show live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch and keep in touch with us on our Facebook page. Just Google Moose Machine. If you can't find us, you're doing the internet wrong.